Tide of Shadows is coming to an end, and you might be curious what will happen to RotJaw and Thundershower after the event, and this video seeks to find the answer. I had the opportunity to sit down with Hunt Showdown General Manager David Fifield and pick his brain about Hunt Showdown's development, how it stacks up against its competition in the gaming market, and an exclusive answer about the fate of RotJaw and Thundershower. In this interview, we are playing a little proto mode we made up in the shooting range where we progress through 3 tiers of weapons to gain a point. You gain a promotion by getting a kill with that tier's weapon, and you get demoted when you get killed. But similar to the motion of a tide, only one player can progress at a time, so it's a tug of war of consecutive kills. And if you don't care about any of that, you can also just listen. So enjoy hearing David in the hot seat while he answers my 12 questions. Sometimes I'm nice and let him answer instead of shooting him. Timestamps below if you want to hop around. Be sure to subscribe for all the latest Hunt Showdown news, and let's get to it. What is happening with the live series announced for Binge?
The live series for Binge. So Binge had the rights previously to do web short form videos, and that was part of this entertainment platform that they were looking to launch sometime this year or last year. I'm not exactly clear on what the original timetable was. But those rights did expire without them going into pre-production, so they did lose those rights, and we took the rights back fully. And so nothing is going forward with that, but we have the rights and we are considering other video partners who might want to put out some kind of franchise extension talking about the Hunt universe. And it's pretty safe to say that when we strike any new deal and that begins actually moving forward with momentum, we will announce and let everyone know about it.
So just to be clear, there will be no Binge series.
Well, the clearest I can be is they used to have the rights and they no longer have the rights. And so as we talk about what the future might be, it does not look like it will be any series with them unless some other things were to fall into place.
Great. Now prepare to die. Oh no, now I've messed up.
Oh, how the turns table.
Does the recent record-breaking concurrent player count validate the direction Hunt Showdown is headed? Is there a target player count you would call healthy?
So yeah, every time we break a record, that's certainly validating. So the audience size is growing. It's definitely been very strong. Even before I had joined the team last year, Hunt was on a pretty steady climb upwards with the Devil's Moon, and with Tide of Shadows, we continue to break the records and the climb has become even more steep. So that's super encouraging. So that's definitely the goal of any live service game, is to be maintaining or growing the audience. And then my experience, like anything that's growing has to be considered healthy so long as the investment and the pace is sustainable for like revenue and dev team capacity. And you know, that's the big focus for us as we go forward, is making sure we reinvest the success that Hunt is having, that we're building the team up to be able to sustainably do this without, you know, undue crunch and undue crazy efforts. We'd like to put things out with less hot fixes needed, so that's another very strong goal that will also help with retention. Oh!
I was
Don't want that
let
ladder.
you, keep going with your answer.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's it. Making sure, you know, if we can stay on the course, that's healthy. Even when we reach a peak, then, you know, we haven't yet gone down over time. And so until we start going down in population and player size, there would be no reason to consider things unhealthy. And even games that hit a peak can maintain for a very long time. So, yeah, Hunt's on the way up, and that is always encouraging to see and talk about.
I find it interesting at least you're focused on dev capacity, which is, I think, a positive note.
Yeah, I mean, that's like with the live service game, it's trying to put things out every quarter, you know, fix and tune things every month or things like that. Is you can't just go into like, oh, it's, hey, one push. It's always there's a next push, always there's a next thing we have to do. And if it's just going to be a steady part of our lives, we have to make it something that everybody can live their life and do steadily. Ah! Oh, the shotgun version.
Okay, the cycle announced its ending support and disabling servers after the summer. Why do you think so many extraction shooters have struggled to find their footing?
Well, extraction shooters appear to be the new hot thing, right? And that's the genre of shooter that's coming up the quickest, where you had the team deathmatch or deathmatch to team deathmatch to tactical team games with bomb plants and things like that, and then the royales broke out from there. Extraction shooters kind of came out at about the same time as some of the royales. Didn't catch on as big as that global phenomenon, but definitely have been growing and taking more and more of the shooter share. So, I mean, anytime you have that new genre, that's going to catch a lot of fast follows, and a lot of people who are going to try to do the exact same thing, but just with a little bit of a tweak, or maybe they just change the art up a little or the style. They changed one or two mechanics, but when it's kind of the same thing, then it comes down to just execution and attracting the audience, and it can be really hard to attract the audience away from the established games they prefer. So it's not just the cycle and, you know, the things that happened with them doing their version of an extraction shooter. That's like, you see the same thing for any genre of games where somebody's like, oh, let's all do a 3D isometric hack and slash because Hades was so successful, or let's all try to jump on the bandwagon of Fall Guys, or let's all try to jump on the bandwagon of, you know, pick whatever genre you want. That you're going to have far more games fall away and go out of service than you are going to have new competitors who get into that service, make their toehold, and then hold on to it.
Not to disparage the cycle dev team.
I wouldn't disparage them at all. I mean, I have massive respect for Jaeger. I think it was a great game, and there are a lot of great games that do not wind up finding their audience or be able to maintain the size population that they have to have. There's a lot of things the cycles did that Hunt doesn't do, and Hunt can learn from and try to emulate. And again, that's just it. Like, you can even build the better mousetrap sometimes, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to find the market or be successful. The real key is having an audience, holding the audience, and growing the audience.
With the cycle specifically, in part, just a little bit too late to the party, you think?
I think too late to the party and too samey to Tarkov. That would be my answer. And then just anecdotally, without being an expert, having, you know, I can read the news, it felt like their free-to-play nature made them more vulnerable to cheaters. Because even if you ban a cheater, they just make a new account for free. So
right,
reacting to cheaters is often not enough for a free game. You have to be able to just full-on prevent them. Better than apparently happened there. But, oh, I should have switched to shotgun.
What other games do you play when you're not playing Hunt Showdown?
Well, so Hunt's got to be at least 90% of my gaming time. And let's see, I just crossed 2,200 hours. So I do play a lot of games, and that's probably 2,200 in the last 2.5 years. Prior to that, I used to split my time between Apex and Fortnite. I had like 1,500 hours in Apex and about 700 hours, or no, 1,500 hours in Fortnite and 700 hours in Apex. So there was a lot of time in those games before I came to know and fall in love with Hunt.
So you said Fortnite and Apex as your top
shooters, yeah. Before getting into Hunt, those were the ones I went the deepest and longest playing.
So there's something about this like small team versus everyone style that appeals to you?
Oh, well, it was the Royales. I thought the Royales did more to freshen up shooters than anything prior to, you know, like a tactical CSGO kind of game. Like that was a breakout for shooters at the previous mark. And then I saw you at the top of the ladder and didn't pull the trigger. See you? Yeah. Distracting me with game questions. I got it. Yeah,
it
so
is a severe advantage or disadvantage for you to be answering the question.
Well, see, we're learning as we go.
We are most of the way through all the content talked about in the developer roadmap video published earlier this year. Will we be getting a new roadmap video soon?
Soonish, yeah. I hear feet. We will be doing a video again, hopefully in September, to close out what the rest of 2023 is going to look like and start to talk about the first parts of 2024.
So soon, is that like following the Tide of Shadows event?
Oh, you win.
So soon, trademark. A new video talking about what's coming next is happening.
Yeah, you should expect another more official roadmap-ish video that would come in September would be my answer. Now it's time to talk about and add some clarity to like what's our progress on the engine integration, and then all the other general roadmap type. Here's what you can expect from Hunt going forward.
The Inferno and Thundershower both have a heavy audio element to them. Will we continue to see new audio-scapes in these new times of day as they get made?
Yeah, the audio component of both Inferno and Thundershower, obviously on purpose. We often talk about how strong the audio in Hunt is and what a major part of gameplay it is. So that is a major part of gameplay for us to experiment with, changing up and manipulating. Like I would even say, Thundershower was a very interesting audio change up and something that I think did help with breaking up stalemates a bit, because it gave that noise cover to make rushes where you might not otherwise make rushes, and it gave noise cover for you to escape where you might not otherwise feel like you could escape. So we had those things. Ow! Right in the head.
Thundershower, obviously, I think, has a more widespread audio element to it. When that heavy rain kicks in, you really can't hear much.
Yeah. Well, I think more importantly, it has a stronger audio element, but more importantly, it's not constant. It's the dynamic that it turns on and off at different times the players don't control. And so the Inferno had a lot of noise and covered footsteps and, was a distraction, but it was always constant and always location-based. Whereas with Thundershower, it was neither constant nor location-based. And so that one, I think it made it more effective at trying to move players along and go from there.
Not everyone will know this, but you play a lot of Hunt Showdown. You already mentioned that. It's like 90% of your playtime. How would you say being a fan of the game helps you develop it?
Let's see. Being a fan of the game, I think, firstly, being a super fan of the game. Let's get that right. I'm not just a fan of the game. Being a super fan of the game definitely helped with getting to know the dev team. Being able to establish a rapport with them right away.
Right. You can talk about the game that they also love.
Yeah, and that they wouldn't be worried that I'm just going to change it up and make it into one of the games I've made before. Like, I think that was a lot of people would look at my resume and be like, "You're just going to try and make it like one of those other games." And I'd be like, "No, I'm not working on those games. I came to this game because this game's amazing." Oh!
I'm going to pause you there because we have a minute left on our server. We have 22 seconds.
Okay.
For our reset, you were saying that some people might have been worried that you were going to try to redevelop games you've already worked on, but that's
I think that's just natural when you hire somebody in who has a resume with big titles on it, or a long history. That can be a concern. And so that that I came to Hunt and I didn't regard it as something broken to be fixed. I saw it as an amazing product to be grown and refined. And that means a lot to developers who've poured years of development time in their life into the product up to that point. So that helped at the interview level right at the beginning. And so then having that rapport established, then the other part is it's not just being a fan. It's like, the hundreds and now thousands of hours in the game is being really aware of all the vast mechanics and the interlocking systems. And that's probably what helps the most, because at a leadership and business level, it's easy to make a really bad decision that looks good on paper or sounds good financially, but you don't understand will ruin the experience or the intricate balance of how all the systems work together.
Right.
And so that could be real devastating when someone's like, "I don't care, I just want you to sell this for blood bonds," and you're like, "Well, no, that's pay to win, and that's really not popular."
Right.
And so even being able to boil that down to how does the knock-on effect of acquiring a legendary hunter or acquiring a different type of weapon, or what is the purpose of the hunt dollars, That's something that being deeply aware of how the game works, we don't mess with. And then understanding, like we do with the packs and the new traits, what is, fair game to change up without it taking away the core of Hunt.
Alright, I will warn you, you are in the danger zone of a knife, but I'm also going to ask a follow-up.
Okay.
It can't be overstated that you are a fan of this game, but
True.
have you found that working on previous big titles like Halo and Call of Duty lends you some credibility that you know what you're talking about as far as the games industry is concerned?
Yeah, for sure, because they operate at a scale of player base, much larger than what Hunt currently has. So as we grow, there are necessary things that we have to do, and like people have heard me talk about since I got here, the concepts of server improvements and back-end stuff. I've been dealing with matchmaking. What? I protest.
You've been dealing with matchmaking?
Yeah, well, I'm dealing with a combat log right now. 22 in the leg, and only 20% of pellets into your chest at that range.
Yeah, your first hit did not do what I thought
it didn't get a bar. It was just 22.
Yeah.
And then 56 on the second one. Oh!
Well, I think those were good answers. We can move on to... How does Crytek choose which legendary hunter gets added to the game next?
It's a good one. So brainstorming, whiteboarding, just throwing a whole bunch of things on a whiteboard, brainstorming what makes sense for like the story that we're trying to tell during the event, or just as the game moves forward, is a big part of it. There's what sounds or looks cool and what's a badass hunter, and then lots of debates ensue about that stuff. Ow. And then the other thing we have talked about is we do purposely over-index on some of the marginalized or underrepresented groups in history, and we feel like no one knows exactly what the history is, and we play in kind of the gray areas of our own history anyways. So having those kind of untold tales of the unsung heroes is definitely a part of what we want to represent in Hunt, and that notion that either because of who was writing the history or the fact that all this stuff in Hunt was so horrific nobody wants to talk about it, leads to just different stories with different types of heroes than other games might have had in the past.
So just to clarify, you're also talking about like marginalized communities, or like people that aren't canon to Western history, or however you want to.
Yeah, for sure. So we have all the different nationalities that we represent. We do, a lot of splits along gender and non-gendered characters. All those things that, aren't a typical part of cowboy Western fare or even action shooter fare. It's becoming more common. It certainly wasn't common in the other stories that are told about this time period. And that's just, again, something that we talk to about the shadowy corners of the world and the unsung heroes. Oh! I thought you would move forward to the other building.
Are there any quotes or mantras you live by? Is there a guiding philosophy that you develop by?
Yeah, there's many. I guess I'm really into management productivity books. A lot of things that were probably formative for me from my time back in the military 30 years ago. So one book is Extreme Ownership, and probably the most important lesson I have to keep remembering myself and trying to teach people is there are no bad teams, there are only bad leaders.
So that's like hyper accountability at the leadership level.
Correct. It's leaders have to be completely accountable for what their teams do, to the point that there isn't a bad team, there's only a bad leader, because if there is what you want to call an air quote bad team, it's the leader's responsibility to fix the team, or to give the team the right mission, or to give the team the resources it needs. And so that's the, any leader who tries to blame their team for the problem is definitely not the solution. So that's not, so then you have to talk about, do you even have the right leaders, and what is your mentality there? And that's hard because, I've been doing it for like 27 years and leading for like 25 of those. So another mantra from Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is seek first to understand and then to be understood. So if you go in with inquiry and trying to understand why people are saying or thinking or doing the things they're doing, it can save you from blundering into bad assumptions. Whoa! Were you same level or above?
Above.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. I just wasn't aware of my vulnerability. And then also that it's easier for you to explain things or to get people to listen to you if you have demonstrated that you are listening to them and understand their point and what's important to them.
What is Hunt Showdown's greatest challenge in developing the game?
I am not good with a shotgun. That's its greatest challenge.
Good shot.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I knew there would be a 360 no scope on me eventually. Or
it.
180, I guess, but
Yeah. Going back to my gamer roots.
yeah.
Yeah, it was only a 180. I did not. I didn't pull no 270 spin or 360 420.
What is Hunt Showdown's greatest challenge in developing the game?
Far and away is the fact that it's a live service product, right? So being able to effectively build for the future 9 to 12 months down the road is challenging while you're maintaining and always supporting and sometimes having to repair the live version of the game or the stuff that's about to go out in 30 or 60 days. That can become such a total focus that you... What? Such a total focus that you wonder how you're double tapped into this person.
A trade! What happens there?
Oh.
We're just on the same...
Yeah, I think we just stay in the same place, so drilling versus pistol.
I like it.
Yeah, it's the live service, you always get those updates going. It's a lot shorter deadlines than dev teams have historically worked against when making big video games. And have that piece, it's people will often liken it to like we're repairing the airplane while it's in flight, and not just you feel like if we could just land this thing or just take it offline for a little bit, it'd be so you don't get that option. You get an hour or two to take it offline to just replace what's there. So those are the big challenges by far that Hunt faces.
And then your next question: how do you want Hunt Showdown to be remembered by history?
Remembered by history. I want it to be remembered as a premier extraction shooter that set the bar for others to chase and ran for 10 plus years.
And we are at 5 so far.
Well, yeah, so far 5.5.
Is there any criteria that would make it remain a premier extraction shooter? Like, what does that mean to you?
I think the constant growth of the audience would be there. I mean, it certainly has the audience's attention. It has the press's attention. So that's it. I mean, 5 years of constant growth. If it has 10 years of constant growth, it won't be remembered. It'll still be getting experienced. So yeah, Premiere being in the top 1, 2, or 3 of any extraction shooter list is probably one measure.
Would you say it's currently there? Top 1 or 2?
Yeah, I think I would put Tarkov as number 1 by size of audience, and I would put Hunt Showdown as number 2, right behind it.
Some of these shots I feel so confident about, and then nothing.
Oh, home! It's the second time I have clicked an empty shotgun. You know what it is I think I wind up whiffing a shotgun shot early, switching to the medium ammo, and then not really computing that I whiffed the shotgun.
As we enter the final stages of Tide of Shadows, what will be the fate of RotJaw and Thundershower? Will they remain after the event, or where are they going?
So yeah, that's a very common question that we get a lot, and I will give you the official answer first. So both RotJaw and Thundershower will be staying around. They've had very positive reviews, very positive feedback. We really like how they've helped change up the hunt ecosystem. And yeah, so we'll be keeping those there. So Thundershower will remain as a time of day, and it'll be in rotation even after the battle pass ends. So just like the other times of the day that are there. And then RotJaw will also remain as a wild target, and she can show up when there is a single bounty target or boss target on the map with, in the upper left. That indicates there is a possibility, but not a guarantee. There might also be a wild target, and currently RotJaw is our only wild target. So there you have it. That is not tied to the battle pass or the event.
So RotJaw and Thundershower are sticking around, will just be in normal rotation.
Yeah, there won't even be a break. So it's not like wait for the next update or those things. It'll be because they aren't part of the event, really. Like a lot of times they just happen to release at the same time as an event, and an event is really, a battle pass and a pact and a bunch of traits and some of those mechanics and ship alters that come and go.
Right.
But times of day are not events, and people have been mistaken about that. Eat it! And sorry, well fought, home.
Yeah.
And then so those things are times of days. And wildcard is we've called them wildcard map conditions, and then we have the wildcard contract, and that could be the subject of a whole nother video and a whole nother interview perhaps. But short version is those are experimental places. I got mission will end in 1 minute, so probably a good place to wrap up the interview as well.
I'm gonna start playing you off.
And so that's what we do with the wildcard conditions. We first introduce them in a wildcard contract because they're experimental. We're not quite sure how all of it will work out. We want to see what the public thinks. We want to see what the data shows. And then things that prove good or fun or enhancing to the game, either through events or through wildcard contracts, will be migrated into just being normal features in the game in the standard contract rotations. So yeah, again, definitively saying that Thundershower and RotJaw will become part of standard contracts, and they might also show up in wildcard contracts, but they will be part of the standard contract rotations even as soon as the event ends.
So in closing, these experiments, RotJaw and Thundershower, went well, and we'll continue to see more experiments.
For sure, yeah, those and more of the hunt packs and hunter traits and all those pieces. That's the experimental pieces.
So I guess that's probably the best spot to end it.
Yeah, that worked out really well then.